Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cliff Soccer Zone. Today, we're going to talk about Inter Milan's comeback victory over Monza in Serie A. And going into this match, it was supposed to, on paper, it was supposed to be a cakewalk for Inter Milan playing bottom of the table in Serie A, Monza, who so much so when I say that it was a cakewalk on ESPN Bet, they listed Inter Milan as minus 750 favorites, which, if you aren't aware how American odds work, that means you would have had to bet $750 in order to win $100. So just to indicate how much of, on paper, how much of a cakewalk it was expected for Inter Milan. And going back to the game itself, there was an opportunity for Inter Milan to score when Lautaro Martinez was able to get the ball in the back of the net, but after a VAR review, it was deemed that there was a handball in the build-up to the goal, which then, based on the way the rule works, even if the ball takes a very slight thing against the hand or the arm, it automatically is ruled out via VAR. There's a less of a but essentially they're more strict when it comes to goals in that regard when they review for handballs. So there's the possibility that in play a ball may hit a hand, but the rules are in the natural silhouette in terms of your natural position. There's times where the ball will hit a player in a natural position in the hand, but it won't be ruled a handball. But if, for example, the person keeps their hands in a natural position and scores a goal, but the ball still hits their hand, the goal won't count. Hopefully that explains it for you guys. But basically, then right after that ruled out goal for Inter Milan, Monza started to become the more dominant side between the two sides, and they were able to catch Inter by surprise with a lovely back heel through ball from Danny Mata finding Samuel Birindelli, hopefully I didn't butcher that name, but who was able to fire the ball in the back of the net, giving Monza a shock 1-0 lead in the first half. And then for essentially for the large majority of the rest of the first half, Monza kept being the more dominant team, which was a surprise to everyone in that regard. But then Danny Mata again is able to feed Keita Balde, the former Inter player, who then beautifully curls the ball into the back of the net in like the 43rd minute, making Monza fans feel in dreamland, as they would not have expected to be 2-0 up on top of the table and the reigning champs Inter Milan. This has had a shock to everyone that it appeared that going into halftime, Inter Milan were going to be down 2-0 and possibly dropping 3 massive points in the Scudetto race, which is the terminology for the championship for Serie A, in the Scudetto race against the bottom of the table side in Monza. But then in the 46th minute, 45 plus 1 minute, just before halftime, Denzel Dumfries is able to head the ball to Marko Arnautovic, who then is able to head the ball in the back of the net, giving Inter Milan a much-needed lifeline and a confidence booster heading into the second half, which, as I said, there's a massive difference going into halftime, being down 2-0 versus being down 2-1, and the momentum from that goal going into halftime was carried over into the second half. And then Inter Milan in the second half looked a lot more like their usual self in becoming the more dominant team. And in the second half, as I said, Çalhanoğlu comes on, and as eventually the ball is split to him from Jan Bishek, and then Çalhanoğlu, in a very typical Hakan Çalhanoğlu finish, fires a low strike into the bottom left corner of the goal, leveling the match at 2-2. And it seems now that based after that goal, it seemed that Inter Milan were going to eventually go on and score the winner. And not to about maybe 10-ish, 12-ish minutes after that, they ended up, a ball was crossed into the box, and then I'm hopefully not going to butcher this name, but Kyriakopoulos for Monza accidentally heads the ball into the back of the net, and the goal is eventually given via goal line technology from the referee's watch as the ball crosses enough over the goal line for it to count as a good goal, and that completes Inter Milan's 2-0 comeback from 2-0 down, when, as I said, it appeared that Inter was going to drop 3 massive points in the Scudetto race to the bottom of the table's Monza, and that would have been absolutely devastating for Inter and their hopes for winning back-to-back Serie A or Scudetto titles, especially with the fact that instead of what would have happened, it would have been Napoli would have had the opportunity. Napoli play tomorrow. They would have had the opportunity to go ahead of Inter Milan had Inter Milan dropped the 3 points. And instead of dropping the 3 points and allowing Napoli to have the chance to overtake them in the Scudetto race, the gap at the top of the Serie A table goes to 4 points. As I said, yes, Napoli have the opportunity to make it only a 1-point gap, but obviously the fact that Inter Milan were able to come back from a game that seemed like that absolutely crazy, as I suggested, that no one would have thought that Monza, even the most optimistic of Monza fans, would have expected to be 2-0 up at the San Siro or the Giuseppe Meazza, going what appeared just before halftime. But as I said, that Marko Arnautovic goal changed the momentum of the game entirely and allowed Inter to eventually start the comeback. And you could tell the momentum when Inter came out for the second half, that goal totally got them going in that regard, and they were able to rescue what appeared to be a disaster in their hopes of retaining the Scudetto. But we're obviously going to have to see what happens with Napoli tomorrow and see if they can answer Inter Milan's comeback and also secure 3 points, moving the gap from currently 4 points to maybe 1 point. And as I've said previously on my Twitter as well, if you've been following me at Cliff Soccer Zone on Twitter, the Serie A or Scudetto title race is probably one of the more exciting, is arguably the most exciting title race in all of Europe. The only one maybe you could argue is the Turkish Super League as well. The Turkish Super League is also a pretty exciting race between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. But I personally think that the Scudetto or Serie A title race is, as I said, the most exciting title race in all of Europe. So thanks for watching this video. I would appreciate it if you guys could leave a like, comment, or I would even more appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. And as I said, you could also follow me on my Twitter/X at Cliff Soccer Zone. I post more there than I do here. I'm hopefully, as I said, going to continue with the daily uploads and try to post more on this YouTube channel as well. Again, appreciate you guys watching the video. Take care.